Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome to another video. Today's video is another Premier League predictions video. We've got another round of Premier League fixtures that's going to be upon us this weekend. Big round of fixtures as the season obviously continues and the Premier League starts to take shape over who's going to be fighting for what come the end of the campaign. We're going to be diving into all the games that are coming up this weekend, looking at it and also trying to predict the outcomes of each and every single Premier League game that is upon us. But before we do that, and before we go any further, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and forever greatly appreciated. But for now, let's get into the predictions. Okay, so first up, we're at Stamford Bridge. It's Friday night's game, so fantasy football managers, get your teams ready and prepared for Friday night's game. It is at Stamford Bridge. It is Chelsea against Fulham. It is a big London derby, and if you remember, it wasn't so long ago that these two teams did meet because of obviously a rearranged fixture in which Fulham came out as the victors in that game by 2-1. A fair bit has happened since then. A fair few bits of changes have happened at Chelsea in terms of personnel wise since then, and obviously a lot of money has been thrown around, and it might be a slightly different looking Chelsea side to the one that obviously lost to Fulham on that very day. Most notoriously, of course, the £100 million or £106 million signing in Enzo Fernandez will be within Chelsea's ranks, so that could be very interesting and intriguing to watch for your Friday night viewing. Interesting game. We know how Fulham tend to play, bit direct, mixing up with a bit of technical ability, but when you've got Alexander Mitrovic up front, going direct is not obviously a bad choice to go, and obviously with the scoring form that he's been in all season, he'll be hoping to rediscover his scoring touch in this game. Could be difficult for Chelsea. Alternatively, they have looked a bit more solid in recent weeks, a bit more defensively. They still need a bit more flair, but maybe the likes of Fernandez and Mudryk in particular can obviously provide that. So this one could be a very intriguing and exciting game and prospect. I'm still not convinced though, and I still think Fulham are a pretty decent side, which is why I am going to say that this game will end in a draw. Obviously, I could see either side nicking it and winning it, especially with Chelsea being at home. But I am going to go with a draw, and I'm going to say that this game will end 1-1 come the final whistle. Next up, midday on Saturday, the lunchtime kickoff, we'll see Everton at Goodison Park under a new owner, a new chapter in the lives of the Evertonians, take on top of the table Arsenal in what is going to be an intriguing clash, to say the least. Obviously, Everton have just endured a horrible transfer window, not signed anybody, but also got rid of their manager Frank Lampard in January, and now have replaced him with Sean Dyche. And I think that Sean Dyche is an interesting pick. It is possibly a smart pick, and I'll get onto that in another video a little bit later on down the line. But I do think that this one is going to be a very intriguing clash to see how early or how much of an impact Sean Dyche's arrival will have on this Everton side that look terrible right now. Fan base, toxic. Club, toxic. Arsenal, in form, playing some very exciting and attractive football. Firing on all cylinders. Looking good at the top of the table, 5 points clear of Manchester City. I can only see one winner here. And as much as, you know, maybe it might be interesting to see if Sean Dyche and Everton can throw a bit of a spanner in the works, especially at Goodison Park, depending on the atmosphere and everything, I think Arsenal will overcome it pretty comfortably, which is why I'm going to go for a 2-0 win in favour of Mikel Arteta's side. Next up, we're at Villa Park. It is Aston Villa against Leicester. The Villains versus the Foxes. Unai Emery against Brendan Rodgers. Intriguing game, this one. One that might go a little bit under the radar. It could go any which way, this one. You don't really know which side's going to turn up for these two. They've been very inconsistent and unconvincing this season, both sides, that this one could end any which way. I guess if I had to choose, it might sound a bit boring, but I'm going to go down the middle and say it's going to be a draw. Obviously, both teams have the capabilities of hurting the opposition and vice versa. But I'm going to go with a draw. I'm going to stick with that, and I'm going to say that this can end 1-1 come the final whistle. Next up, it's Brentford taking on Southampton. It's the Bees against the Saints. A very intriguing fixture with only, I think, one outcome in my opinion. Brentford are very good at home, and that is why I think that they'll go into this game as favourites. Not just because obviously Southampton are near the bottom of the table, but just because they're at home as well. Brentford, very good home record, very good at home. Thomas Frank's a very good manager, and of course they've got a very good squad that's building up over there, and that's why I can only see one winner. I'm not going to say that this one is a foregone conclusion, because as we know with Southampton, they do have the capability of turning up and taking something from this game. But I think with Brentford being at home, the atmosphere and everything else that provides extra fuel for Brentford in these kinds of fixtures, I would safely bet that Brentford have come out of this as winners. And I'm going to say that this game will end 3-1 to Brentford come the final whistle. Next up, we're at the Amex Stadium. It is Brighton against Bournemouth. Interesting game, this one. Interesting for one sort of underlying reason, shall we say. And that reason is Moises Caicedo. It'll be interesting to see how the Brighton fans respond to him being back with Brighton, especially after all the stuff that has gone on this past week, with him being linked to the likes of Arsenal and Chelsea, and him going on Instagram and stating that he was very proud and happy to bring in such a record fee for Brighton in order for them to go out and strengthen, and then obviously for nothing to actually materialise in the final days of that transfer window. So it'll be interesting to see that kind of little subplot unfold and what kind of reception he will get, and if he'll start in this game and so on and so forth. That will be very intriguing to watch. But from a footballing perspective, look, Brighton are very good at home. They continue to recover after losses of players and losses of the manager. They continue to recover, and they're doing very, very well right now. And I think they kind of go under the radar a little bit, and I think that they deserve a bit more credit than what they get at times. I think some of the bigger teams often take the spotlight from them, which might not be a necessarily bad thing. But I do think Brighton are a very good, well-run squad, and they are doing very well on the pitch right now. Bournemouth, not that great. Not that great right now. Obviously near the bottom of the table. They are struggling to fight for their lives. They need points. A draw isn't out of the realms of possibility, but I'm going to go with the favourites in Brighton. I'm going to say that this game will end 2-1 to the Seagulls. Next up, Old Trafford awaits Manchester United taking on Crystal Palace. Another intriguing battle, this one. You'll remember that it wasn't so long ago that these two teams met again in what was another rearranged game. And in that game, it was a last-minute Michael Olise free kick, a stunning free kick at that rescued a point for Crystal Palace on that day, with a 1-1 draw being played out on that day. This time around, I think it might be slightly different. I think the home advantage, and with the form that some of the Manchester United players are in, might just tip the scales in United's favour. The likes of Marcus Rashford being on fire. I think we might get to see their new signing, Marcel Sabitzer, in action as well. Casemiro's back for the Red Devils, so this one could be very intriguing in terms of a Premier League fixture for this one. We know that Palace sometimes do throw spanner in the works of the bigger teams in the division. It could happen again here. But I think the home advantage, the kind of forms that Casemiro and Rashford are in, and obviously with Sabitzer coming in as well, I think that might just tip the scales and give United the edge in this fixture, which is why I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory in favour of Manchester United. Next up, we have to talk about this. We're at Molineux. It is Wolves against Liverpool. Oh Jesus! I really hope we get 3 points from this one. Look, I'm not confident anymore. I can't remember the last time I actually felt this way about Liverpool, in which we weren't confident going into any game. But I'm not confident going into this one. Away from home, Liverpool's form has been poor. I'm not saying that Wolves has been great either, but Wolves are coming into a little bit of form themselves, getting some points here and there, and starting to really look good under Lopetegui. And as much as I want to say that Liverpool win this game and get the 3 points and get a much needed win, their first win in seemingly God knows forever in the Premier League, I know it's going to be very difficult, and I know that Wolves are not to be taken for granted by this club, and especially by this team that seem like we're playing 8 players a week because we just don't seem to have a midfield. Look, I reckon Liverpool can do it, and my prediction will obviously be to back them, and that is why I'm going to go for a Liverpool win. But at the end of the day, I'm not at all confident in this. So there is a little bit of bias, there is a little bit more hope than actual logic or anything along those lines. But I am going to say that Liverpool come out of this as winners, and I'm going to say that they win this game by 2-1. But again, I'm not entirely confident. Saturday's evening fixture, we're at St James's Park for Newcastle against West Ham. Another intriguing battle awaits Newcastle as they seem to sort of be in a top 4 race, at least for now. We'll see how far that goes and whether or not they could actually maintain that position. But at the same time, it's going very well for Newcastle right now, riding off a high of good results in the Premier League and obviously making it through to the Carabao Cup final. They'll be playing at Wembley against Manchester United in that final, so they'll still be riding a high off that. Against the West Ham side, who haven't been great this season, they've not been at their best this season, and pressure continues to grow on one David Moyes. And it'll be interesting to see how far he can last, depending on unless obviously results begin to turn their head. Intriguing game. They've got the best Premier League defence in Newcastle, and believe me, it feels weird to say that considering where they used to be over a year and a half ago, against the West Ham side who struggled to score goals for the most part. So that's going to be interesting to watch. Newcastle obviously going to this one as favourites. I think the home advantage will see them right, and I think that with the likes of Joelinton, Almiron and St Maximin being back, and it might be interesting to see if Anthony Gordon as well is in their ranks for this game. It'll be very intriguing to obviously watch this game unfold. And saying that, prediction, I'm going to have to go with Newcastle. I think Newcastle is a safe bet, and Newcastle is going to win this game, get the 3 points, and continue their charge towards securing top 4, which is why I'm going to go for a 2-0 win in favour of Eddie Howe's side. Sunday's game's up next, and first up, we have got a clash at the City Ground between Nottingham Forest and Leeds. Forest are pretty good at home. Forest will be hurt from obviously that hammering they suffered against Manchester United across both legs in the Carabao Cup semi-final. But when they're at home against these kinds of teams, Forest tend to do pretty well. And I think that they're not a team to be taken for granted, particularly when they do play at home. And that's why I think they may get something from this game. Leeds, of course, quite hit and miss. They can turn up for one game and then be missing for the next couple, and so on and so forth. But for the most part, it will be interesting to see if their new recruits will make an appearance and how well they will do going forward. But I just think for this game, I mean, obviously Forest have got new recruits themselves. They've just signed a quality goalkeeper from PSG, so I'll be interested to see if he makes an appearance. But yes, I do believe Forest will get something from this game. I do believe when they're at home, Forest are quite a different side. I think the home crowd advantage, the atmosphere the home crowd create, kind of give them a little bit of a boost in that aspect, and I can see Forest getting a victory in this game, which is why I'm going to go for a 2-1 win in favour of the home side. And finally, what I believe to be the main event of this round of Premier League fixtures, the biggest highlight and the biggest game of the games that are coming up this weekend. It is Tottenham against Manchester City at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Big game in prospect for both clubs. Tottenham as they continue their pursuit of a top 4 charge. Manchester City as they continue their pursuit of Arsenal at the top of the table. Very intriguing battle ahead, one that neither side wants to lose, and one that is just going to be a big Premier League encounter as a whole, because it normally is when these two teams face off. Pattern is pretty much the same as what we know from these two teams. City will dominate the ball. City will try and press and attack. Tottenham will try and sit back, soak up the pressure, and try and hit them on the counter attack using the likes of Kulusevski, Heung-min Son, and Harry Kane. And although the likes of Son haven't exactly been at the races this season for the most part, they still have shown flashes and glimpses that they still have got what it takes to be at a top level. Harry Kane's been on fire for the most part of the season in terms of goal scoring, and Kulusevski has been great since obviously arriving at Tottenham and being a bit of a breath of fresh air and taking some of the weight off of the likes of Son to kind of provide for Kane himself. So they've got dangerous players at Tottenham, and when you add Richarlison, who can pop up every now and again, I don't like the guy, but he can pop up every now and again with a moment, with just like a moment to savour for his fans and everything, and for his club. And obviously when you throw Danjuma into the mix as well, the new signing, obviously they have got a lot of firepower there that can definitely help them in this game, and maybe even take something from this game. And I remember that this game wasn't so long ago that this game was played in a rearranged fixture itself, and Tottenham went 2 goals ahead in that game and ended up losing by 4 goals to 2. And you think that individual errors and City just being brilliant, Riyad Mahrez in particular was brilliant on that day, obviously helped City towards that win. But it wasn't all doom and gloom for some Tottenham fans, as it turned out, because obviously losing that game was a little bit bittersweet, because some Tottenham fans seemingly were happy that they lost in order to help Manchester City try and catch Arsenal at the top of the table, because apparently some Tottenham fans don't care enough about their team, they care more about the failure of Arsenal, it seems. So a weird mentality to have, not one that I necessarily agree with, but maybe it won't all be bad if obviously City beat Tottenham again here. But no, in all seriousness, Tottenham will definitely want to continue their top 4 pursuit. City want to continue to pursue Arsenal. Big game. Like I say, the pattern of the game pretty much sets itself out. And as far as a prediction goes, look, I think with the likes of Erling Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne in the ranks, I think even Jack Grealish is starting to pop up a bit more and be a bit more effective every now and again. I reckon City get this game in the bag. Riyad Mahrez, like I say, in form as well. I'd say City get this game in the bag. I think Tottenham obviously have been a bit of a dodgy side for City to face in recent years, but I think last time out they overcame it, and I think they'll overcome it again this time. And it will be interesting to see what the reaction is like from the Tottenham fans. But I can see City winning this game, and that is why I'm going to go 3-1 in favour of Pep Guardiola's side. But of course, as I always say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, most of all, of course, predictions of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of all the games that are coming up this weekend in another round of Premier League fixtures upcoming? I would like to know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, your predictions on all the games that are coming up this weekend in another round of Premier League fixtures down below in the comment section. Because I'm sure it'll make for interesting reading. Fantasy football managers, who do you see having a good week? Who do you see having a bad week? Who are you putting into your squad? Who are you taking out of your squad? That could also make for interesting reading too. But of course, I want to know mainly about your predictions of all the games that are coming up this weekend. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new. Want to see more content like this. Both things are always greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Premier League prediction show. And I'll see you all again soon in another video.